He continued to live in the capital city for some time longer, until his money ran dry. He began drinking. Finally, impoverished, he drifted back to his own part of the country. Ashamed to show his face to his former colleagues, he found a hut far out in the countryside. He still possessed his flutes, still played, but found no new inspiration in music. Passing farmers heard him play and sent their children to him for beginners' lessons. He lived this way for years. One morning there was a knock at his door. It was the oldest past master from his town and the youngest student. They told him that tonight they were going to have a concert, and they had all decided it would not take place without him. With some effort they overcame his feelings of fear and shame, and almost in a trance he picked up a flute and went with them. The concert began. As he waited behind the stage, no one intruded on his inner silence. Finally, at the end of the concert, his name was called. He stepped out onto the stage in his rags. He looked down at his hands and realized that he had chosen the new flute. Now he realized that he had nothing to gain and nothing to lose. He sat down and played the same tune he had played so many times for his teacher in the past. When he finished, there was silence for a long moment. Then the voice of the oldest man was heard, speaking softly from the back of the room. Like a god. Introduction. Improvisation, it is a mystery. You can write a book about it, but by the end, no one still knows what it is. When I improvise, and I'm in good form, I'm like somebody half sleeping. I even forget there are people in front of me. Great improvisers are like priests. They are thinking only of their God. Stefan Grappelli. I am a musician. One of the things I love best is to give totally improvised concerts on violin and viola. There is something energizing and challenging about being one-to-one with the audience and creating a piece of work that has both the freshness of the fleeting moment and, when everything is working, the structural tautness and symmetry of a living organism. It can be a remarkable and often moving experience in direct communication. My experience of playing in this way is that I am not doing something. It's more like following or taking dictation. This is, of course, a feeling that has been expressed many times by composers, poets, and other artists. There is the story of one of Bach's pupils asking him, "Papa, how do you ever think of so many tunes?" To which Bach replied, "My dear boy, my greatest difficulty is to avoid stepping on them when I get up in the morning." And there is the famous example of Michelangelo's theory of sculpture. The statue is already in the stone, has been in the stone since the beginning of time, and the sculptor's job is to see it and release it by carefully scraping away the excess material. William Blake, in a similar vein, writes of melting apparent surfaces away and displaying the infinite, which was hid. This book is about the inner sources of spontaneous creation. It is about where art comes from. I mean art in the widest sense. I have seen an automobile mechanic open the hood of my car and work with that special sensitivity of hand and eye, that deftness and readiness to absorb surprises, that quality of connectedness and wholeness which we also recognize in a fine pianist, painter, or poet. This book is directed toward people in any field who want to contact and strengthen their own creative powers. Its purpose is to propagate the understanding, joy, responsibility, and peace that come from the full use of the human imagination. The questions we will delve into concern how intuitive music, or inspiration of any kind, arises within us, how it may be blocked, derailed, or obscured by certain unavoidable facts of life, and how it is finally liberated, how we are finally liberated to speak or sing, write or paint with our own authentic voice. Such questions lead us directly into territory where many religions and philosophies, as well as the actual experience of practicing artists, seem to converge. What is the source we tap into when we create?